Folks, I'm Doug Reid. I am an independent contractor. My opinions do not necessarily reflect those of Shopsmith or their affiliates. And be safe, be smart, unplug the machine for this. Folks, this is going to be a short demonstration on how to remove and install the lower saw guard and the blade. I'm going to assume that you already have the blade mounted on the arbor. If not, that needs to be mounted. Remember that is a left-handed thread when you mount the blade on. You notice the set screw right here. It's the machine screw that holds the guard on. I loosen that, and then I loosen the set screw in the arbor. That's going up against a tapered flat. And the way you can always reposition that to make sure it's on the tapered flat, if you look at the set screw there on the knurled side, the knurled end of the quill, that flat will always line up with that, so you can always see where the flat is on the blade. So now I've taken the blade and the guard off, and that's really all there is to it. Store it away. I store mine on a mounting bolt on the end. The Shopsmith accessory shelf has a place to mount your blade and arbor, but I mounted a bolt on the end of the machine. I just replaced one of the machine screws that mounts the leg to the casting there and put a double nut, one on the outside and one on the inside. And that way, it gives me a place to hang the saw blade easily and quickly, and it's out of the way. And also protects the blade, so I don't have to worry about it falling off and hitting the floor and maybe damaging an expensive blade. Works great. Now, if things are a little stiff to come off like you just saw there, I like to use a little wax. I've always used Johnson's Paste Wax. I think it's the best thing going. I put a little bit on the end of the quill, a little bit on the arbor itself. And while I've got it out, I think I'll go ahead and put some on the quill. So extend the quill out. Now, some guys get real manic about this, and they'll wipe it on and polish it, and wipe it on and polish it almost like they're shining dress boots. But here I just wipe on a little bit and wipe it off again, and that's fine. If any excess builds up, it's easy to wipe off. Now, I take the entire guard and blade assembly together, and I put a little bit of wax on the inside of that as well. Now you'll notice right underneath that large hole there's a smaller hole. There's supposed to be a set screw in there, and I'll show you what that's for a little bit later, but that should be on there. Now if you install the blade and the guard together as sort of one unit, a couple of good things about that. It makes it easier to install, but also it protects the blade. No chance of dropping that on the floor. I always tighten the machine screw on the quill first, just snug. It doesn't have to be super tight. And then tighten the set screw, again lining it up with the set screw on the silver knurled section of the quill. And I like to give it a little extra twist and just wiggle it a little bit and tighten it down again, just to make sure nothing's going to come loose on me. Guys, if that set screw were to come loose, it wouldn't be a disaster. It wouldn't come off because of the taper. I also like to make sure that the section of the lower guard here with the springs on it moves freely. So I put a little wax on that, make sure that moves up and down easily. And that's really all there is to it. One other thing, I want to make sure that the distance between the very lowest section of the guard and the blade right here is about a ½ inch or so. If you have it too far out, it's going to hang up on your table when you put it in place. So about ½ inch is fine. It doesn't have to be right hard up against it. Remember, it's part of your dust collection system, so you need to have airflow going through there. And that should be just about all there is to putting the blade and the guard in place. So one final thing, you see the little black rubber piece there? Make sure that's on your machine. I've had countless people over the years say, oh, I thought that was packing material and I took it off. That is actually a spacer that makes sure that when you put the table and the blade assembly together, that they're going to line up and the blade will come up right through the center of the insert, the red insert that you see up there. So it's an important part to have on there, otherwise you're going to be fighting this. On the older machines it was a little thing, maybe 1/4 inch. On the newer 510, 520 it's bigger, but make sure that is on there. Alright, once I have the blade and the guard installed, to set the table in place, I'm going to loosen the table height mechanism, slide the entire quill over, let it bump up against the black rubber bumper. I tighten the carriage lock. Once I get the height of my blade where I want it, I'll tighten the height table raising mechanism. And then I'm going to tighten and check all 5 locks. There's 5 locks. And guys, this probably sounds like a lot, but once you've done it a few times, it's as easy as driving a stick shift car, I guess you could say. There's just one of those little things you want to make sure you check out. You have a lock for the carriage, a lock for the table height, you have a lock for the headset, the headstock itself, which is right here, table height, carriage. Make sure the tilt lock underneath there is locked, and the quill should be locked. And folks, don't do what I did here. Make sure that your casters are retracted as well. And again, folks, it's just that easy. The other thing I locked just then was the quill lock, which I don't always do, but it's not a bad idea to lock your quill so it doesn't move on you. If it's operating properly, it's not going to move, but especially in a heavy rip cut, it's a good idea to do that. So 5 locks again, 1 for the carriage, 1 for the table height, 1 for the headstock, 1 for the quill, and 1 for the table tilt. Just get in the habit of checking all 5 of those. You can get where you do that without even looking at them. Now to put the upper guard in place, now I've got my fences sitting on there loosely because I've got a light mounted on it. But to put the upper guard in place, all I do is grab it with one hand. I loosen the lock down on the lower saw guard, slide this all the way down in. Let me show you that again. Yeah, there you can see how I grip it. Slide it all the way down in and lock the wing nut. Guys, it takes less than a minute to set up your table saw. And finally, folks, if you like these videos, please hit the like button. If you hit the subscribe button, I will notify you when a new video comes out. And again, thanks for watching. I'm Doug Reid. Have a great day.